This is the Elsa Show.
Oh, hey, hi, Clay. How are you today?
I'm good. Welcome back. Thank God you're here.
Listen, you did an awesome job as always, and as always, I say it every time. We talked about this last time too. That I whine like a little brat, saying, "Oh, I want to be on that conversation." Oh,
I
that's such a
said
good.
it. I said it in the show.
You did. You did. You said it. And I was going to be bummed that I was missing it. And you were 100% correct. Now you did a great job as usual.
Appreciate that.
Always jealous every time. So here's the fun fact. We have a ton of topics, not a ton. We've got a bunch of topics for you. But Clay, it just informed me that he's got like a whole list of things. So what's going on, my friend? What's happening in the world?
Listen, like Elsa said, our normal cycle, for those of you that listen or watch every week, you've heard this a million times. Tuesday morning, I get up. I try and keep notes during the week about things that are going on. I keep a running list. I hit the news wire. I come up with 6, 7, 8, 9 topics. I shoot them off to Elsa. We confirm our recording time again Wednesday. It is about 4:15 on the East Coast. And then she comes back and adds 1 or 2, and then it's Wednesday and we record. In the last 36 hours, there are so many things that have hit the news wire that we've adjusted a little bit. But listen, here's just 5 things that have hit in the last 36 hours that we can't even cram into the show. Right. You've got Henry Novak in England, Hampshire, the body cam footage from last December of his killing, the arrest, everything that got released. Of course, that is like the UK
Horrific.
Is crazy on that one right now. You've got the jury determination on the Chow shooting of the 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton in South Carolina. That's hit the news wire, right? He was acquitted, innocent. Secretary Rubio testifying in front of the Foreign Affairs Committee. There's hours of him being, punched and him punching back. Got the federal judge, Obama appointed judge, who is allowing the 8647 flag to be flown near the National Mall. And then lastly, Scott Pelley got fired from 60 Minutes yesterday.
Yes.
Listen, folks, every one of those are topics that we would normally cover, and maybe depending on what's going on, we'll drag one into next week. But that's just in the last 36 hours, things that are happening that Elsa and I couldn't even shift fire to drag into the show today, because we still have tons of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, this would be like a 3-4 hour show if we tried to cover every single thing that we want to talk about. And and I know sometimes on occasion people will say, "How come we not talking about blah blah blah? How come we didn't talk about this? How could you ignore that?" We're not. It's not that we're ignoring. Like there's only so much we can do in the time that we have. I mean, I appreciate that you guys want us to be on for 3, 4, 5 hours, but it's not going to happen.
We don't have a staff.
No.
There's no one. All of the research, all the top. And listen, folks, I got a couple of things wrong last week on the show by myself. I was doing a lot of research, and God love our viewers, right? Some folks pointed some stuff out. Okay, fine. I will own it. I wasn't 100% accurate on things. I'm not perfect. But we're doing this on our own, folks. There's no support staff. There's no cameras. This is Elsa and I on our computers with some ring lights, and that's what we're doing.
If y'all saw my studio, you would make fun of me mercilessly. I am literally, I will tell you the secrets. I don't care. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm literally in what is basically a closet. It's a large walk-in closet that has been converted to a studio. So, I could maybe do some jumping jacks in here if I wanted to, but it's like
I am in a basement office with a block glass window that goes up and out. Like,
Yeah, and guess what? That just
that's
described
it.
the setup of, probably about 80% of podcasters.
That
Like
is true.
everybody is doing the same kind of thing.
Yep.
For all I know, Joe Rogan has his studio is in his home. Maybe it's in his basement. His is
Yeah.
just put a lot more money into it and
Got a bigger basement.
a bigger basement,
Yeah.
just a little bit bigger than the closet. Oh my goodness. So there's that. There are all our disclaimers, explanations, and a little recap of all the things that we're not going to be talking about.
Not covering. Yeah.
We are not going to cover it. Each one of them obviously is has so many talking points that it'd be a full show on its own. So
Yep.
that is the point in itself. But for now, for this week's show, here is what we're talking about. So obviously the big one, if you're just kind of perusing social media and you're not really that interested in all of the stuff and things when it comes to this, you probably are the most likely to know about the whole California primaries that are going on because Spencer Pratt, if you're a
Yep.
reality TV show person, if you've been following even just us with that, I've been delightedly sharing his campaign videos that he's been putting out. They've been amazing. But that's of course not the only place. So we're talking, of course, about the midterms on the horizon, voters in Iowa, which is the one I was trying to get to the point of, but I was being long-winded. And California, of course, are headed to the polls, or were headed to the polls on June 2nd for key primaries that shaped everything, or are shaping everything from governor races to Senate seats. Go ahead and talk about the red-leaning Iowa. What's going on over there?
Yeah. So, President Trump, I talked about this last week. He was 117 for 117, I think the number was, in endorsements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Endorsed candidates endorsed by him in primaries were 117-0. Like he hadn't missed yet. And so in Iowa for the governor, which folks, because the Iowa caucus is the jumping off point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Iowa politically is a very weird place because Des Moines is super blue. The rest of the state is super red, like a lot of states, right?
Yes.
Illinois, we talk about Chicago, Pennsylvania is Philly and Pittsburgh. There's a lot of states like this, even New York, right? New York City
Mm-hmm.
determines the state. But Iowa, because it's the first caucus in the, it's the stepping off point for the presidential campaign, always gets a lot of attention. And so President Trump, very, very late, when I say late, I'm talking like last Friday, endorsed this guy Feenstra, who is currently losing to a guy named Zach Lahn, Lahn. But folks, it's like 1,500 votes out of 250,000. Like,
so crazy.
That's how close this thing is.
Clay, why? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Why was Trump so late to jump on that?
I'm not sure. That is I think it was a kind of a coin flip, and I think you could say he could have got pressed to make an endorsement of some kind. I'm not too sure why he waited so long. I think judging, and I'm not from Iowa, folks, but I think looking at these two, I really think it's a bit of a coin flip. I don't think you're going to get a bad candidate no matter which one on the GOP side that you get. But he came in late, and listen, it's too close to call, and it hasn't been declared. So, President Trump may keep his perfect endorsement record, but right now it is super, super close on the GOP side for the governor candidate in Iowa.
Very interesting. Yeah, let's talk about California too, of course. Then that's still my favorite one to talk about right now. But it blows my mind how much I am just loving Spencer Pratt. Like, it's so crazy that this is the case.
The surge by him in the last few weeks. Now, you've been highlighting, you've done a great job highlighting his, use of AI, his commercial, his ground roots. Like, he's been walking through the worst neighborhoods in Los Angeles to go shake hands, talk to people, and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, so as with every primary in the state of California, it's open primary, no matter the party, the top 2 vote getters from the primary go on to the actual election.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a worry that this woman, what's her name? Ramen noodles, that she was going to be a second Democratic candidate, blue candidate for LA mayor. He has surged and is now, I think they have declared that he is without a doubt going to be one of the top 2 candidates with Karen Bass.
Yeah. I think, I think that it's another one of those cases, and I would venture to say it's the same thing with Trump, that a lot of people who are outwardly saying that of course they're going to vote for Karen Bass because they're in their Hollywood bubble and their California bubble and all of those things, and they must show allegiance to certain people. But I think those are also the ones that are quietly, speaking with their vote and saying something different, to the world. This is the only way I can kind of explain, because I don't think the turnouts have been spectacular by any means, right?
No, I would have to go back and look.
Yeah.
There was an absurdly low number in the LA mayor's race. Now, keep in mind, folks, California, notorious for write-in ballots. They're notorious for late ballot delivery. It was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, or maybe within the last week. There was like a pile of ballots on fire, like at a mailbox.
Yes. Yes.
So, we assume, and Governor Newsom is still pushing for, no voter ID, and all of those things. And so, and the write-in ballots. So we don't know exactly when they're going to call these primaries.
Yeah.
None of them have been called yet. But the percentage that I saw within the last 4 hours, Karen Bass 35, Spencer Pratt 30%, then ramen noodles coming in at 22. So it is going to be Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass.
Yes.
I think it's going to be super close. I really do. But I also I'm going to call it the Karen Bass stays, but I think it's going to be a hair margin.
Yeah.
But I also think there's going to be tons of speculation of voter interference, voter fraud, write-in ballots, all the same things from 2016, 2020 that we're used to. And it'll be a tragedy, but I think it'll be a lot closer than people realize.
Yes, I fully agree. And that, leads me to the question of, kind of going back to the low turnout, voter turnout. Do you think it's because there is so much distrust in the process, in the system, that people are like, what does it even matter if I vote? They're just going to do what they're going to do. They're just going to, rig it, because you have that side,
Sure.
that says, everything is rigged. If it doesn't go a particular way, it's got to be rigged. They have not been wrong in very clear cases here. It becomes more and more clear as time goes on how much that is actually true. But do you think that it's been deterring people, and will we see more of a trend of that across the country, where people are like, I'm not doing it. What does it matter if I vote?
Yeah, the midterm primaries always suck. It's always low voter turnout because there's no president at stake. Truthfully, the number of elections that are happening are significantly lower than the presidential election years. So I think voter turnout for these is historically low no matter what. And, I do think that there's a lot of, disillusioned people when it comes to this, when it comes to voting now, more than there was, even 12, 16 years ago. And so, yes, I think there's definitely some of that. I think Spencer Pratt's doing it right. I think he is getting to the people that you need to get to. He keeps saying that moms in Los Angeles are going to get him elected, which I love. And it's so very, very true. And it's very indicative of that city. but also modern society, modern culture, right? We historically, and you and I have talked about this on the show, we historically talk about the lack of fathers in homes in many urban, inner city, low income, African American, specifically minority neighborhoods. And so he's going after the people who are going to get him elected, which are mothers. It's 100% right, and good for him for doing it. Right. He's going to the people, and good for him. I think, Karen Bass is just assuming that the Democrat machine is going to win it for her, and that'll be the end of that. And we'll see what happens. But I really want him to win. I just don't think that Democrat machine is going to let it happen. I just don't.
Yeah, I grudgingly, regretfully agree with you, and I have never wanted to be more wrong. I've never wanted to be more wrong. I'm sure there's a few times, but I want to see this happen so much. And at the absolute very least of the outcome of this, he needs to be studied and duplicated. His model, his plan, his system, his way of doing all of this needs to be studied and duplicated by the right, please, not by the left, because he came out of, I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but for something like this, he sure did. This was a joke, to many people initially, much like President Trump was first days, early days. It was a big joke. Everybody was laughing about it. Oh, Mr. What was the name of his show? I forgot the show. His line, "You're fired." The Apprentice. Thank you. Yeah. The guy from The Apprentice, the billionaire from The Apprentice, is going to run the country. That's so funny. Hi, here we are. So do not discount this guy, guys. And I think if you've listened to him speak, have you listened to him really speak?
Oh yeah,
he's good. He's
good.
Really good. I think he has a future in this, regardless if he wants one. And I hope that he does want one, because I think he could be very impactful.
I think the only bad appearance I've seen him make, thankfully, was in front of an audience that he doesn't have to worry about. He was on last week. I don't know if you saw it. It seemed very much like, if you watch that show regularly, I probably catch it maybe 2 times a week. But everybody there is prepared. They know the questions. They've got, a lot of them will have notes, or they'll have a thing in their ear, and somebody, whatever. So he hasn't done a show like that. He jumped on a plane. He flew there to do the show. He was not prepared like everyone else was. He also is not a national level issue guy. He has remained, this is Los Angeles. That's all I care about right now. I'll worry about the other stuff later. Whoever is a governor, I'll make friends with him. Whoever, he doesn't care about President Trump, really. He just wants to fix Los Angeles. And he truthfully was unprepared for the show itself, because it is so much national level goings on. And so it wasn't a great showing for him. But again, he was doing it in front of an audience that he really doesn't have to worry about. He didn't lose any votes from an appearance.
I did, I saw some, I saw some clips. Yeah, I saw some clips from that particular one. And, oddly enough, what I did like about it, and I agree with you, it did look like he was really not really prepared to answer the questions. And he, but I kind of liked his shrug. Like, he was like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. Don't know. Like, there was no BS. And that is so refreshing. And I think that is 100% his appeal right now. One is his very clear passion for his goal. He wants to fix LA. He wants to undo the damage that these people have done. He wants to right the wrongs that have been happened to his family and people like his family. Those are, of course, admirable and appealing. But it's just, I'll say it again, he's just so refreshing. There's no BS, and much in the way of President Trump. That was a huge part of the appeal. He didn't say all of the things that the rest of them say. He was the anti-politician, and that was what resonated with obviously so many people. And if I don't know if Spencer Pratt studied that phenomenon or not, or if this is just him being him. I tend to think this is just him being him.
Yep,
And I think that's really what shines through. Did I hear, and I also like, let me say before I ask this question, I like that he doesn't care about President Trump. I like that he doesn't care about any other politicians or parties. He has made it very clear. I don't really care about that party. I don't care about that party either.
All about Los
I care,
Angeles.
yeah, like this is what I care about.
Yep.
You want to label me whatever you want, knock yourself out. Don't care. This is what I care about. And I love that about him. Regarding President Trump, did I hear that he did ultimately endorse him basically, or no?
I couldn't tell you. I heard that. You would assume that's what happened, but I don't know that for sure. I do know that President Trump has weighed in on the governor's race in California.
Yeah.
Hilton, who is who's a Brit, born and raised, he's got an accent. So did Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it is what it is. But
yes,
used to work for Fox News, but he got the Trump endorsement. He is the leader in the governor's race. And again, folks, this is just like the mayor's primary. Top two go forward. So he's in at 28%. Sarah, who was a Biden, advisor, is number two at 25%. And then you got this billionaire guy, Steyer at 20%.
Yeah.
There was a push for the sheriff to back out of the race and push all of his supporters over to Hilton to make sure that he was in the top two. He kind of refused to do that. I appreciate that for the fact that it's, people aren't just doing what's best for the party.
Sure.
That kind of thing. He really wanted to run. He really wanted to be governor of California. And now maybe as he, is eliminated from this process, he turns around and he endorses, or gives the thumbs up or tells all his supporters to go over to Hilton and he can carry the day and we can turn California red again, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be a wonderful miracle to happen. But at least it feels like we're getting a little bit closer to the potential of that happening. If it doesn't happen, I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, just more of the same, really. And if California is foolish enough to accept that and say that is okay, I mean, what do we say to even that at this point, right? But obviously, we will be watching and reporting on it as we do. Reporting on it. We're not reporters. Talking about it is what we do. We're not reporting. We're discussing it. All right. Let's discuss this one, which we've been discussing for how long? How long now, Clay?
We're probably 10, 11 weeks, I would bet, somewhere in that window. It wasn't that long ago. We talked on the show about hitting the 60-day mark, in the War Powers Act, and that was a whole discussion. And we're a couple of weeks past that. So, again, just in the last 48 hours, you've had, the Iranian president has submitted his resignation. And for those of you that don't know or understand that the government over there, they do have a quote unquote democratically elected president among other elected officials. However, everything goes to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, for approval. So the president, for the most part, is irrelevant, honestly.
Right.
And so, the Ayatollah has been underground, unreachable. I talked about this last week. They've been using couriers and all this stuff for all the negotiation with the United States. And I think the president has finally figured out that nobody gives a crap who he is or what he does while this is going on. And he submitted his letter of resignation. And at the same time, negotiations have halted. The Ayatollah has said, nope, not doing it anymore. I think President Trump said in the last few hours, he's like, I'm kind of bored with it because it's not going anywhere. Which I know people will think is flippant or not serious or whatever, but it's President Trump. And then
he says things the way he says them.
Yeah. but last night there were some shots exchanged. The Iranians launched some cruise missiles and some one-way drones
Mm-hmm.
to attack U.S. facilities in Kuwait and Bahrain. All in the first wave, all intercepted, all blown apart in the air before impact. The U.S. turned around and fired back. They hit on a place called Keshem Island in the Gulf. It's a control center for communications and control center. So drones, it relays to drones and all kinds of other stuff. We hit that. And then in response to that, the Iranians launched again. This time, they actually hit Kuwait International Airport. So
Wow.
one civilian killed, a number injured. And for all of us that went to Iraq and Afghanistan, we all passed through there at some point in time. So like Terminal 1, I saw the news coverage this morning of this place smoking on fire. And I'm like, I went down those escalators. Like, so that was kind of the last part of it. And then Iran says that they're closing the strait again and, all of these other things. So, I hate to say it, we are somewhat back at square one.
Yeah. Yeah. Curiously, when you mention Trump's statement about being bored with it, and we've talked many times about fatigue of various different things. I'm curious if you think that the American people are still, obviously especially with the mainstream media, just sparking those fires and those coals for panic and doom and gloom and worry and fear constantly. Do you think the American people, generally speaking, have that sense of anxiety and worry and stress, or are they getting fatigued with even this? I mean, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Every time they go to the gas pump.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that'll do it.
It's a constant reminder. Here's the thing, though, is that, we don't pull oil, like we don't use oil from Iran. But the industry goes by OPEC pricing standards and it affects. So I think President Trump, in a very 4D chess kind of way, he's trying to get as many of these Middle East and OPEC related nations onto the Abrams Accords. And so they all stop hating on Israel, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think that's a political move to try and get them aligned. And then I think his intent is to get them economically aligned and to do a little squeeze on OPEC. But I think Americans as a whole, this is not as easy to forget as the Ukraine, which truthfully people have forgotten about. 2 years ago, it was like, you and I have talked about it. The blue and yellow flags were everywhere. And suburban housewives were screaming and blah, blah, blah. And now nobody talks about it. But because of the oil impact, every time Americans go to the gas pump, they're reminded of what's going on. I think they are getting frustrated. I think that if President Trump doesn't fix this soon, it's going to impact midterms. And so the fatigue on this one, I think, is not going away anytime soon because of the impact on gas prices.
Sure. Let's talk about more America stuff. We got the 250th celebration coming up. Obviously, July 4th, 2026, America hits its 250th birthday. Big event, obviously. Big events planned nationwide. Fireworks, of course, in DC, state fairs, parades. It is a wonderful chance for us to celebrate resilience and all of the things that we used to be celebrating all the time. These days, not so much. And surprise, there's lots of controversy and things going on with the White House celebration of this and the DC celebration of this with they make it sound like so many artists are pulling out of the celebration. There's 5, and I think I can only name 3 of them: Martina McBride, Brett, what's his name? Brett Michaels. and a couple other people who I can't even remember who were on board to perform and then backed out because suddenly they remembered who the president was. I mean, what? Like, give me a break. They put out these mamby-pamby little statements like, I didn't know this was going to be a political thing. And, we can't be part of that. And I feel like it's not there. You just made it political. This was a celebration of our country. And you just made it political right there. So personally, I think two things about that. I think one, shame on them, obviously.
Yeah.
Two, good riddance. Who cares? Goodbye. Whatever. My guy Vanilla Ice is all in. He's all on it. We went a few years back now. I think we're going 3 years back. As you well know, Clay, maybe some of our audience members know. My husband and I had the blessing to be able to attend New Year's Eve weekend, the whole 4-day celebration of New Year's at Mar-a-Lago it was amazing. Let me just say it was amazing. And one of the headline performers was Vanilla Ice, and got to meet him and everything. And he put on such a great set. It was so high energy. Everybody lost their minds, dancing, having a blast. It was awesome. What's that?
Of course.
I mean, seriously,
Vanilla
right?
Ice.
Vanilla Ice, ice, baby. Come on. What more is there to say about that? So I was glad to see that he's like, I'm all in, so that was cool. I want to know your thoughts on that whole thing though. Like, do you think this is kind of getting a little out of hand, or what do you think?
So, let's just start with the closest target, which is the UFC event is on the 14th of June.
Yeah.
That's controversial for people.
Sure.
Don't like that it's being done at the White House, on the White House lawn. I know that a lot of folks across social media, I think you included, have been reminding folks of the other things that administrations have had on the White House lawn, including transgender appreciation and all kinds of other crazy stuff. And so, I look at that and I say, it is what it is. I do think, I just saw that Dana White was like, hey, we're, because they're putting up the ring already. It's building the whole setup right now. He's already complaining about gnats. Listen, man, they'll figure it out. I can promise you they will figure it out. They're, we used to have boxing matches were outside. I know Wrigley Field. I know, the Beatles played in Shea Stadium. Like,
right.
You'll be okay.
You'll be all right. It's so funny though. Isn't that in itself like kind of hilarious? Like y'all are pummeling each other to bloody pulps. And you're worried about gnats? Like,
he shouldn't introduce the doubt, right? At this point, like, we're still 2 weeks out, a week, 11 days, whatever it is. Like, just let it go. It doesn't even need to be mentioned until there's a legitimate problem to worry about. So that's coming up first. Then, like you said, we've got things in DC, Rushmore fireworks, I think on the 3rd.
Yeah.
We've got, I think across Boston, DC, Philly, New York are like the big, as they should be, right? That's the genesis, the birthplaces of America. And so, yes, people are dropping out of the musical acts.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Like, big deal.
Yeah.
People want to hear the 1812 overture. They want to watch fireworks, right?
Yeah.
And celebrate the nation. The problem is that because of the association with the president, you have people who have claimed to be patriots for decades. Bruce Springsteen claims to be the biggest patriot in the world.
Yeah, he's the biggest joke in the world.
Right? And the reality is that he is going to let his political views stand in the way of being a patriot, of celebrating the nation because he doesn't like President Trump, which is shameful.
If you're a patriot, you're country first. You are about the country.
Exactly.
If you don't like the president, you still respect the title, the role, the job. You still give the respect to the office and not the person. That's fine. There's been presidents we all have not liked, strongly disliked. I've never actually hated president, not even Biden, not even Obama, didn't hate him, didn't like him, didn't trust him, didn't believe him, all of the things. I mean, hate is such an extreme emotion to be wasting your energy on that has nothing to do with the person that you're hating. It's all consuming you. Perfect example of the proof of that is of course Trump derangement syndrome, which is a part of all of this that is, happening with these people. But yeah, again, to echo you, Clay, if you're going to call yourself a patriot, then you're going to be celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation, period, regardless of who's in office and who else is going to be on the stage and all of this. It's just silly. And I think the only critique that I would give at this point regarding the Trump administration and the handling of this is to say, why would you ask these people? Why would you give them the opportunity to disrespect you and the country? Like, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up for that. Somebody else might say, no, it's actually good because it puts that spotlight on them and just how petty they are. And it gives more people just that lens to look through and say, okay, well, I know who not to buy their concert tickets or do whatever, So I don't know. I mean, I guess you can look at it lots of different ways. I just know that I wish that he didn't give them the opportunity to do that, but it is what it is. Whatever.
Yeah, I think, maybe the better tact would have been a year ago to say, open invitation. Open invitation.
I love that.
Listen, non-political, don't care. I want people who love America.
Right.
And open invitation and, and not even really reach out, just say, hey, we would love to have acts from Americans who love America.
Mm-hmm.
And, you would think of people think of the, Farm Aid's been going on for decades, right? Well, people like Willie Nelson and John Mellencamp and, like blue collar people like Bruce Springsteen. And you know what I mean? Like you would expect them in a non-political environment who claim to love America so much to jump on an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I think that was I don't know if it would have worked, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that would have been a better way to handle it, is just be like, hey, non-political, open invitation. If you want to come perform, have your people call my people and we'll figure it out,
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, they just gave that window into the fact that they cannot let their politics be put aside. And, what a shame, how sad, because in all of their own rights, including Bruce Springsteen, they have given a lot musically to the world, to Americans. I mean, they are the backdrop to most of our lives. That, one of these songs, all of these songs, this music was somewhere in our childhood, in our teen years, part of our own personal stories. Like, you remember where you were when you first heard this song, or who you danced with, at the dance to whatever song. So it's just so disheartening and disappointing that this is the way that it is, because it taints everything. It taints those memories, and that, I think, is sad, that people put their politics now before everything else. It's crazy. And I just wish more people would realize how genuinely unhinged it is to be doing that.
And it's tiresome. Like, you don't always have to make a statement.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, right. Like, not everything needs to be on your soapbox. Yeah,
it's okay to just do, your thing. Like,
you
think of somebody like Billy Joel, who just has written song after song after song that is so, I know it's a lot of New York and Philly and New Jersey, but it's so America, right?
Yeah.
Goodnight Saigon, all those things, right? All those songs. And so that would be somebody you would love to have perform American hits that Americans love, that they sing along to, and those kinds of things. But to no avail. And so here we are. We're a month out, and nobody knows. I'm sure there's some panic in the public relations office at the White House right now trying to figure this stuff out. But they'll get there. It'll happen.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll be great. Anyone who attends and goes to it will have a, memorable, amazing time that they'll have stories for, generations for, I guess. And that's great. I'm a homebody, so I won't be going anywhere, but that's okay. All right. We're moving from one drama to the next. Geez, my goodness. Delaney Hall protests. Let's see. Protests at New Jersey's Delaney Hall ICE facility over alleged poor conditions and hunger strikes have turned tense with curfews and clashes. Detainees and advocates decry treatment, and officials cite security needs amid enforcement. So I'm sure everybody has seen the videos and everything with that. And it's just, it's kind of like rinse, repeat. Another day, another location, another batch of lunatics losing their minds and acting a fool, and being shocked when they actually get the consequences for acting like lunatics. Namely, that guy with the glasses. I don't have the video. I'm sorry, guys. But telling the ICE agents with some expletives in it. I know I saw your face. I'm paraphrasing. I saw your face. I'm gonna kill your family. Gonna kill your kids. Basically threatening his whole family, which lends to my point several shows back, talking about them being masked. We had that conversation, right? And the debate: should they or shouldn't they be allowed to be masked? Well, there is the poster child for why they are masked. Exactly. There it is, because of these mental cases who do things like that. So we all thank him actually for doing that, because he was just the, why? He's why.
Yeah.
That is why. This fine representation of trash is exactly why. So yeah. Oh my goodness. Listen, all I can say, Clay, is I think obviously humane treatment is a matter of course. Everybody should be treated humanely. That is the given. And I don't have a problem with anybody advocating for that. That's there is a role for people in that lane that do that. And I think it's great that they do that. But obviously there is a huge line that is being consistently crossed between protesting and advocating for things that you believe in, and then, threatening the lives and families of people who are just doing their freaking jobs. So, yeah.
Yeah. So within the hour before this show, I heard that the mayor of Newark has lifted the curfew. There was a curfew surrounding essentially Delaney Hall. There was also designated protest areas that, you're standing in this box, you can have as much freedom of speech as you want. And they went an entire night without anybody getting arrested.
Yep.
So he's decided everything's okay now. And he decided to lift the curfew and the restrictions of the, quote unquote, freedom of speech boxes. And so what we'll probably have is more of the same tonight. You will have more violent clashes. But because people are onto this whole gag, more things are being captured. So there's tons of pictures of equipment being pre-positioned, shields and all of these other things that we all knew were happening going back as far as George Floyd and then onward since. So people are capturing that now. Like we're getting, more and more photographs of these things, photographic evidence of, the fact that this is not, random peaceful protesting. This is an organized effort. But also there was, I don't know if you saw this across social media, there was a young man who got arrested for physical contact. He got into a scuffle with the guards. And as he was walking away, he's like, listen, I'm just, where do I get my George Soros check? Like I'm looking for now. Nobody knows, or at least it's not apparent whether or not that was sarcasm, satire, him just being a smart ass or what, but maybe not. I mean, it's entirely possible that guy was like, hey, I'm about to get thrown in the clink, and I'm getting paid for this.
Right.
So, again, we're paying more attention. I think, the transparency of all that is becoming more and more apparent. And I think more and more people are realizing what a lot of people have known for a while, and that it's all garbage. It's all paid for.
Yeah.
People aren't really all that outraged. And true. In fact, most people don't even know what's going on in that facility. They just know they're paid to be out there and throw rocks and bottles at the police.
Right. They get their talking points, they get their marching orders, here's what you're going to be yelling. Here's the sign you're holding this day, this week. Here are the rocks you'll be throwing and the bricks that you'll be tossing. And these are the expletives you'll be shouting. And if you get arrested, here's the number that you call. And your check is in the mail, or it'll be Venmo'd to you, to your account, or PayPal'd to you. I mean, this is it. And the crazy part is those gullible dupes that show up, thinking that this is organic and that they're doing something, big and important, and it's like this handful of people that are mixed in with these lunatics, paid lunatics. And they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here, but this isn't what I thought, and it's just, it is wacky and it's so out of control. And the question is always like, can we please just get the people that are behind it? Yeah. Can we get them, please? Charge them. What do you charge them with? Inciting. I'm sure there's a whole laundry list of charges, right? Conspiracy, right? Terrorism. Yeah, terrorism's got to be
for sure.
Right?
Yeah. There's a lot of options. U.S. District Attorney will find all of the right things. And that's the other thing. It will be federal crimes because whoever it is that's doing it has been crossing state lines with this stuff for years now. And so, you're in that federal jurisdiction area. So it'll be, big issue kind of stuff. So we'll see how that rolls.
Yes.
And it'll move to another location in the next, 3 or 4 months. It'll be somewhere else. It won't stay at Delaney Hall forever. Those guys a couple of months ago was Chicago, it's wherever ICE is running operations. And right now it's, they got Delaney Hall to focus their anger on, and it'll move somewhere else here in the near future. So hold down the fort, folks. For those of you that are standing in the line out there, just please be safe. And, one of these nights you're going to walk out there linked in arms, and there's not going to be any protesters to worry about. They'll have moved on to something else.
Yep. Next big cause, next big important thing that, means more than anything else in the world. Next flag.
Yep.
Next, bumper sticker or whatever. I mean, they're so exhausting. Let's see. Let's move on. Speaking of moving on, let's move on to this one here.
We'll make this one quick.
Go right ahead.
If you haven't seen, Israel has, gotten extremely tired of Hezbollah, who continues to launch rockets from Lebanon into Israel. And they did it one too many times. And the Israelis, Netanyahu, decided we've had enough. And they have rolled troops into Lebanon. So they crossed the border. They're into Lebanon. They have been turning this into conventional warfare. And this is basically telling Lebanon, hey, you're responsible for Hezbollah. Get them under control because we're tired of this. And so they've been rolling in. Happened 2 days ago. They have reclaimed land that they had owned for a number of years that they gave back to Lebanon in 2000 and retreated, back across the border into Israel. In fact, there's a Crusade era castle that they have taken control of again, and they're operating out of. But, Lebanon, of course, has condemned, the actions by Israel, but have done nothing to curtail, to put Hezbollah in a box and tell them to knock it off or any of the rest of that stuff. So this is going to continue. I know there's been reports, unsubstantiated reports, that President Trump told Netanyahu that he was an idiot and an ass and nobody liked him and he'd be in jail if it wasn't for him, and all kinds of other things. Unsubstantiated. I think that's completely glorified. I'm sure there's probably been a conversation, but I would bet a dime on a dollar that it didn't sound like that.
Right. Yeah, I find that hard to imagine. But safe bet that this will be a continuing conversation.
Yeah, it's not ending anytime soon.
I don't know what makes me think that. It's just a hunch, I guess. Oh, all right. So I love that we're staying like in this. I love how everything is segueing so nicely. Let's talk about the transgender military ban being deemed potentially unconstitutional. What?
Yeah, federal appeals court has determined that the ban enacted by Secretary Hegseth and the Pentagon on ban on transgender services unconstitutional. Now, this will go to the Supreme Court. There's no question about it. It will go to the Supreme Court. And so, you and I talked about this a couple of times over the years.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, and I go back to the same things over and over again, right? The reason why, from a rational standpoint, I'm not even talking about Secretary Hegseth. I'm just talking about from a rational standpoint of why transgender people are not a good fit for the military. One is there's a definite discussion of pre-op versus post-op.
Yes.
Okay? If you are pre-op, there are psychological counseling therapy requirements that anyone, I don't care if they're in the military or not, are required to and should go through prior to this massive life-changing operation. Okay.
Yes.
As soon as you enter into this process, you immediately become non-deployable in the military. Okay. And then if you go into the process, which the military has also said, we're not doing transgender surgery anymore. But if you're in the military and you're pre-op, you're going to go through this process and it's going to make you non-deployable. If you're post-op, there is medical treatment that you are going to have to continue to undergo as you recover from this surgery, which again, in a lot of cases, up until a certain point in time, makes you non-deployable.
Right.
And people say that, exceptions are made all the time. Listen to me. If you are overdue on your dental exam, if you have a cavity that hasn't been addressed, you are deemed non-deployable because the military does not want you deploying and then having to worry about a bad tooth, right? They want you to be able to focus on your job. They want you to be in the fight where you're supposed to be, right? So even the simplest things will keep you as non-deployable. The purpose for our forces are to be deployable, to be able to go fight and win America's wars.
Kind of important.
Right? You can't do that if you are in a medical process. Truthfully, an personally optional medical process.
Yeah.
This is not a necessary medical process.
Right.
This is something you're opting into, right? There are no that I could think of, and I racked my brain. I can't think of any optional surgeries that the military pays for, right? And guys, people in the military are notorious for putting off surgeries that are not immediate, right? They will put them off for years. But optional surgery, except for the eye surgery, like LASIK or whatever, but that still has a very short recovery time. You're talking years potentially with transgender. Anyway, the military has to draw a line, and people don't want to hear it. And I'll give you an example. In the throes of the GWAT, right, as units were facing these 9, 12, 15-month deployments, in every unit, you have female soldiers who are pregnant. You also have a lot of spouses who are pregnant leading up to the deployment in every stage of pregnancy, from I just found out to I'm getting ready to pop and everywhere in between. The deployment date doesn't change. And you can't just look at everybody and say, well, if your spouse is pregnant, you can stay home until the baby shows up. That doesn't work.
Nope.
So you have to draw a line and say at the third, if she's due after 30 days or if she's due after 45 days, you're going on the deployment and either we'll get you home as soon as we can or you're going to miss the birth. That's all there is. Right?
Yeah.
And you draw the line, and at some point there's going to be that spouse whose due date is the 46th day. That guy's got to go, right? He's got to go. He's got to go. And so nobody's ever happy with you're never going to get 100% buy into where the line's drawn. And this is one of those lines.
Yeah.
Like the military can't continue to have these people that are knowingly non-deployable in the ranks.
Right.
That's the rational discussion.
Yeah.
Of readiness and deployability. The other question is, for all of these people who are complaining, all these transgender individuals who are complaining about this, are you there to serve the nation or
Mhm.
are you there to serve an agenda? And I
Yeah,
think that is the question that all of these people have to ask.
sure.
And I think that is where, it's a very gray area,
Mhm.
but the Supreme Court is going to rule on the viability and the, fiscal part of it and readiness and all of these things related to serving in the military for transgender people.
Yeah.
I don't know how SCOTUS is going to rule on this. I'm sure that, things being the way they are, I would tell you it's going to be a 5-4 vote one way or the other.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
but this is going to go to Supreme Court. So this is not a done deal as much as people want to believe one way or the other that it is.
Sure.
There are people who believe because this appeals court said no, that means everything's cool and transgender people can serve. But this is far from over.
Right. So language wise, talk to me language wise. Is the ban, the specific ban in question, is it literally called the transgender ban, or is it blanketed or umbrellaed under a bigger ban?
Yeah, it's a medical condition ban. So
Okay.
it has to do with deployability, and so I think, and I haven't read it in significant detail,
Hmm.
but I can tell you that it is wrapped around readiness, just like I talked about.
Sure.
And really, what they've determined is that if you are a transgender person in the process,
Hmm.
you are a readiness problem for the military.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, you're a medical problem for the military that we are not going to take responsibility for. And
Hmm.
that's where the ban comes from. It is a medical
Okay.
ban.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's so incomprehensible to me that this is in question. It just is. And that is no disrespect or unkindness towards transgender people. This is everything that you just stated. This is a medical,
Yeah.
psychological, physical readiness issue. It's so simple that it's frightening how simple it is and how complicated it's made to sound like. So yet again, we will keep an eye on it. And as they update it and as we find out more, we will share what we find out and we'll express our opinions about it as well. All right, let's talk about one of your favorite things. Yes.
Yeah. So, listen, folks, if you're a soccer fan or not, it is irrelevant because the World Cup is here this summer.
Mhm.
And so it's a long process. The June 11th to July 19th, this is going on, and it's going on in various states in the United States, and we're co-hosting with Canada and Mexico. So the vast majority of the tournament, which is a lot of games, is happening in the United States across 11 cities, New York, New Jersey, right? LA, Dallas, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, Kansas City, Philly, San Fran, Seattle, and Boston. Okay. And so what you're going to have is this massive global influx of
Yeah.
fans from around the world. You're going to have lots of travel problems at airports. You're going to have crowds, you're going to have hotel issues, public transportation issues. You're going to have all kinds of traffic, everything in and around these cities. I'm a soccer guy. I'm happily going to watch this at home. I may actually go to Kansas City to go visit a lifelong friend who's a what do you call it? An international student that I played soccer with in high school.
Oh, fun.
Who works for FIFA,
Mhm.
the international.
How cool is that? Yeah.
And so he'll be in Kansas City. Regardless, this is coming, folks. And whether you like it or not, it is going to consume major portions of major metro areas for the next 6 weeks or so. I'm doing a social media, like a whole thing called Soccer All Summer. I'm going to be such a soccer guy that I'm going to be talking about this stuff every day.
You soccer nerd.
I am multiple times a week for the next 6 to 8 weeks or so until this is over with. So
Very fun.
You're not going to be able to ignore this. If
Nope.
you live anywhere near any of those metro areas, you are not going to be able to ignore this.
All I want to know, Clay, is this going to affect my? Go ahead.
My biggest concern is security.
Oh yeah, well yeah, definitely, absolutely. It was the first thing I thought of when you were saying how much of the travel, the influx, all of those things. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. To be perfectly honest with you, sounds like an absolute nightmare. Which leads me to my most important question: will this impact my Florida travel?
It listen,
Better not.
plan for, and I don't know what airports you move in and out of, but I will
Mhm.
tell you, plan for extra time. I'm telling you, folks, for the next
Mm.
8 weeks, plan for extra time in and out of airports because, especially in those cities, but if you're close, like people will fly into Connecticut and move,
Mhm.
right? People
Yeah.
will fly into, I guess where are we playing in Florida, Miami, right? They may fly
Mhm.
into Orlando or Lauderdale or
Mm.
someplace like that and move. I know that a lot of international folks are complaining because the U.S. public transportation system is not what they're used to in Europe. But you're going to see a lot of that. Rental cars are going to be an issue,
Mm.
right? If at airports, like
Yeah.
think of all of the things with massive international influx that are coming. By the way, the Olympics are coming in 2 years. And so you're going to see a
Mhm.
lot of this when that happens too.
This actually may impact. What'd you say? What are the dates through July 11th? Is that right?
19th, July 19th,
This could
June
potentially
11th to
actually
July 19th. Yeah.
impact one of my travels. We're going to a wedding, a group of us, we're going to a wedding. I'm giving you guys like such TMI right now, but I'm just thinking aloud and just go with me for a moment as I think aloud here and ask Clay's advice here, travel advice. Yeah, we're going to a wedding in outside of Miami in that first early July. So yeah, I guess that is an issue. All right.
Oh, by the
All right.
way, lay this on top of America's 250th.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yes.
And there
Oh
are
my
games
goodness.
over that 4th of July weekend in a lot of these cities. So listen, folks, just be safe, keep your head on a swivel. If you're not involved with this stuff, stay away from it.
Yeah.
Just don't add to the chaos, but it is going to be somewhat chaotic.
Yeah. No, it's all jokes and ha-has aside, it's actually pretty serious. It's certainly exciting for lots of fun reasons, but it also is a cause for heightened awareness for sure. Here's something I'm highly aware of. So are many of us as we were watching. Totally, it's such a bad segue, but I don't even care. Let's talk about Jill Biden on her little book tour. These ladies with their book tours. First, Kamala Harris giving me more material with her book tour. Now we have Dr. Jill dropping bombs and shrugging her shoulders just like she did back then. What am I talking about? Well, let's just watch it.
Horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified, I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never.
Or since?
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke.
I'm sorry, what now? I'm sorry, Dr. Jill. Dr. Jill, what now? Yes, we know that she's not a medical doctor. Um Wow. So she's talking about, if you don't know, Jill Biden was talking about the disastrous debate between President Trump and Joe Biden. It was a true, legit disaster to which she went out, curiously enough, after now we find out thinking that he was potentially having a stroke, which makes this clip all the more interesting, right, guys? Here we go.
Such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie! Yes.
Yeah. So that's awkward. That's uncomfortable. Yeah. So Dr. Jill thought her husband, her beloved, precious husband, was potentially having a stroke. And what did she do immediately after? She did that. And then what did she do after that? Went on every, you know, television station and talked about how great he did and how much we need Joe to run and how she thinks he's totally ready for this. And
Went to Waffle House that night.
yeah, how about that? How about that? So again, I'm so sorry to be a broken record, but you cannot emphasize this enough. I thought he was having a stroke to Waffle House, not the ER, not their, private doctor to get him checked out, which I think now she's like kind of backpedaling, right? A lot of backpedaling. Well, I mean, we had him checked. He was checked out. And
There is a lot of speculation because they did go back and forth. I don't like Jesse Waters.
Nah.
He's a Ken doll with a TV show.
Yeah.
But he did, outline we had him checked. We didn't have him checked. We didn't need to have him checked, but now we did have him checked and everything was okay. Right. And he was cognitively fine, and she says, I never saw him like that before. Never saw him like that since. But there is the speculation about the doctor. Did they have him checked or not? And she did drag him to the rally and then to Waffle House. And, it's so disingenuous. It's not even funny. It's just
awful.
gross.
I hope that her book sales are embarrassing, to say the least. I hope that. I don't know. I haven't even looked to see what they are. You couldn't pay me to read her book. I think I genuinely think that she is probably one of the most horrible people in existence today. She is right up there with some of the worst. And I know I'm going to get flack for comparing her to murderers and things like that, but she is a truly terrible person. God awful wife, not to say that he's a great husband. Yeah.
It's elder abuse. You know who else can't read her book? Her husband.
Seriously, he cannot. He's literally incapable. And of course, you have all of we're going to call them conspiracy theorists, say that Joe's been unalived, as they like to say, for a very, very long time. And this is, so definitely some compelling proof of that, with the head shape and the ear shape and all of the things, the height, all that stuff. But,
He's had a lot of plastic surgery. He's
had a lot of plastic surgery, and that will do a lot of things. Regardless, real Joe, fake Joe, alive Joe, not alive Joe, Jill Biden is a terrible person.
she's still saying that she thinks he could have won if he stayed in the race.
Yeah.
That night was an anomaly, and that she felt and feels like she was abandoned by friends that they had for 30 years in the party, Nancy Pelosi being one of them, that abandoned them, and forced him out of the race. So she's playing the pity card. I did hear an interesting theory yesterday, or maybe even this morning. His presidential library was supposed to be on the glide path, in their fundraising in and around I think the $100 million range at this point.
Okay.
Right? They are like zero. Like there is speculation that he will be the first president since like FDR that will not have a presidential library because there's no money.
Wow. And I mean, what are they going to put in there? The Cat in the Hat books? Come on, give me a break.
And they're still like, the family's broke because of Hunter. Like they don't even have personal funds to put into this thing, So it's so there's speculation that she's doing all this as a sympathy plea.
Yeah.
Among other things, is to try and raise some funds for.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What better
library?
Right. What better way than to drop some bombshells in your, in your memoir, in your book, to get people to go buy it and read it. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. You know what? Just go ask AI, go into your chat GPT and say, summarize this. If you really want to know, just tell it to summarize the book for you. That's all you got to do. All right, let's have some fun. There's I have 2 viral videos for you guys that I found and that I love. I discovered them. No, they're viral. So everybody's probably seen them, but now you're going to see them again. One, I got to do one with Marco Rubio because I love him. Everybody knows this, right? I love this. This is the clip. We talked about this a little bit earlier about this, but here's the clip that I loved.
Shocked to see that you were at a party with President Trump in Miami instead of accompanying Vice President Vance to Pakistan for negotiations.
What party was I at? I was at a party?
It's publicly reported, and there's photos there.
But what party? No. But you're going to say that. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer that question because that's an absurd statement. I was not at a party.
Finish my paragraph.
You're 100% inaccurate and 100% wrong. I was not at a party. Where I was is next to the president because in the midst of those negotiations, I was in communications with them. I know your staff wrote up this cute statement for your TikTok video, but it's not true and it's not real.
I love him so much. He's so great.
Please,
so
be the next president. Please.
Please. He takes no flack from anyone, and I love it so much. So here is another one that I really, really enjoyed. Let me just remove that from there. Okay, here's another one that I thought was really great, and I will tell you why I thought it was so great. Here we go.
Yes! It's right there. Chill out, bro. Put it off.
I need his hands behind his back.
Yes! Behind his back?
So he doesn't untie his
Okay, you gotta turn around like this. He's strapped too tight.
He's strapped too tight? Okay, we'll just put it in the front again. Okay, we'll just put it in the front again. Let's just see.
We're good. Oh, you fucking picking my skin, you dumb fucking bitch. Hey, look, she's fucking preaching on skin. You
broke out once.
No, it's what she's fucking doing.
You're not gonna die.
Look what she's fucking doing.
You're not gonna die.
What she's doing. Look what the fuck she's doing. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look at that. I'm not doing shit. Look. Look at you. Look at what she's fucking doing. What the fuck she's doing?
Okay, so it goes on like that for a little bit longer. And this was aboard a recent Frontier flight. And this guy tried to open the exit door and, get everybody sucked out. And these manly men jumped in and subdued this guy and got him under control. So what I was loving so much about this video, and by the way, apologies for the swearing in there that I didn't bleep out the swearing. Sorry, guys. But what I was loving was jujitsu guys, super casual. He's just chewing his gum. He's just chomping on his gum.
That guy is a former professional UFC fighter. He is a black belt of some degree in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And, he, like you said, he's just calm as all get out.
So calm.
Absolutely doing digit and joint manipulation to keep that guy calm.
Yeah.
And that guy has been punched, fought, all those things a million times. That guy sitting in the seat was of no concern to him.
Yeah.
He is so calm. And the fact that he's got a jujitsu t-shirt on.
I love that the camera person zoomed in on the shirt,
even funnier. And listen, folks, I fly Southwest all the time. And now with, pick your seat versus the old way. But even in the old way, I would pay extra to get on the plane early because I sit in that seat every time I get on a plane. A little bit is like control freak. A little bit is, I've been in and around open airplane doors a few times in my life. And so if that's got to happen, I'm cool with it. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But that right there is the reason why I sit there is because I have to be that guy between the door and somebody like that idiot. And so, if you're a man and you've got any ability to defend yourself, any physicality whatsoever. If you have the opportunity to be in that seat, be that guy.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like,
yeah,
you should be that. You should want to be that guy.
absolutely.
And I admire that dude. That good for him. That's
so
that's
much.
so awesome.
Yeah, I want that guy, and maybe he has by this point. Maybe he's been interviewed and stuff, and people have, right? I mean, had to have been a dozen times, but man, I'd like to buy him a beer because he was just so awesome.
Hilarious.
And kudos to the guys around him too. Like I love every part about that. And anybody who ever says in my presence the words toxic masculinity, I will tell you to shut up, and I may even throat punch you. Because that right there, masculinity is one of the greatest things ever. And that was exactly why. Because if I knew that guy was on my plane, I would just be so, if I didn't have my husband on the plane, I would be so relieved to see men like that on the plane and know that they're on there. So maybe the next flight, I'm going to go on there like, anybody, jujitsu guys on here? Okay, good. Good. All right, we're good. I'm in the seat right here. Anything goes down, feel free to come and guard me and protect me. I'm all good with that. All right, that's it. So that was it. That was our two great men videos. So yeah, how about that? I unintentionally, unplanned, did a yay men thing at the end there. How about that? Awesome. All right, guys, we thank you tremendously for watching the show once again and joining us. We always love doing this. And if you did love the show, we would love if you would, if you're not already subscribed over on YouTube, following us on our socials. That would be delightful. We would greatly appreciate it. And that is all I have to say. Clay, what would you like to say?
Hey, so like I said, I'm doing, if you're a soccer fan or if you just want to learn about soccer, I'm doing a series over on Instagram and Facebook, Soccer All Summer. And I've done a couple of them already talking about the U.S. men's national team, but it'll be all soccer stuff all summer long. So you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook along with Elsa. And yeah, until next week, as always from me, keep moving, keep shooting.
I love it. All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
The headlines will change by tomorrow, but the patterns won't. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll be back to keep asking the harder questions and telling the quieter truths. Until then, stay grounded, be discerning, and we'll see you next time.